It's 5:30. I'll call the meeting of Tuesday, October 15th, 5:30 p.m. to order. Can we have roll call, please?
Counselor Starboard.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Beauregard.
Here.
Grant. Kramer. Here. Mayor Grant.
Is here. And we'll do a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I just had two comments to make. The St. Louis County has a letter in here about the mill and air overlay project for Kennedy Memorial Drive. It says in the letter that the project is currently still scheduled for 2025 construction season. And in previous meetings, they did say that they would try to have it done or at least drivable for water carnival. I know it's pretty important to have that street. And the other item was, I saw some questions about the ARP Special Revenue Fund on social media. Wondering what it was. This is the American Rescue Plan Act. It's federal assistance money for the COVID-19 impact. This money had to be spent on certain things. And some of the things that we spent it on were hydrants, valve for the water system, some of the midway renovations, and I believe a vehicle. This money had to be spent, allocated by 2023 and spent by the first of 2025. So it's not really tax dollars, it's all federal assistance or state assistance money. So hope that answers the questions. Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, is there any other comments on the consent agenda items? Is there a motion to accept them?
Make that motion.
Then a motion, is there a second?
I'll support
Support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up is the guest citizen forum. Is there anyone who would like to stand up and address the council? If not, then we'll move on with the agenda. We have reports from staff. We have just Public Works Director Center.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know the campground and golf course are closed for the year. We've begun winterizing things out there, blowing up water lines and winterizing. As well as the cemetery, community garden, the baseball fields, midway area, all those items have been winterized. Either today or will be tomorrow. In the next week or so here, we'll be putting up our winter stockpile of salt sand, we're expected to take delivery on that early next week. In the past couple weeks, we've helped out the snowmobile club a little bit with some, trails. I gotta give my hats off to them, they've done a great job this year with, the improvements they've made to all the trails around the area. So we're happy to help where we can. Also today, the work has begun on the back of the arena, the footings and et cetera for the new building that will hold the ice plant, so if you're a person who goes back behind the arena for any reason, frequently just use caution. There's a lot of trucks and equipment back there working, so take that into consideration. That's it.
All right, thank you, Ken. We do have City Attorney Grunfeld on Zoom. Is there anything you have, Mitch, besides agenda items? Multitasking, so I will assume he does not. Reports from elected officials, Councilor Craig.
Nothing tonight here.
Councilor Border.
Couple things. The Ranger Snowmobile Club is hosting another youth ATV class, October 26th. I believe that class is full, but it's It's another benefit of having that clubhouse, the new clubhouse and the land to do the classes. They're really getting involved with the youth training and it's good to see the sport growing. The November meeting will be canceled. Not enough of the board will be available for the meeting to hold a quorum, so that will be canceled. The next meeting will be in December. And as far as the trail, the Midway Trail is now done. That's starts near the EMS building, around the 3 fields. The city was all the city assistance on that was a lot of help. They were able to get through all that and cut across through all the way through the Midway area. It's topped with a good soil that hopefully will hold up and not be as dusty. And we'd like to see riders staying on the trail there instead of wandering around the field. The Bird Lake Trail is done. It used to be the Bird Lake Ski Trail. It still is in the winter. In the summer, it can be used for ATVs now. There's still a little bit of cleanup that's pending out there. And you may notice that the rocks are a little larger. That's ballast rock. It's meant to be like that, at least for the first year or so. So it's a little bumpier than a brand new trail maybe would be. But we're looking to see how that settles and try to prevent some erosion with the larger rocks. That's all for me.
All right, thank you. Counselor Scott?
Nothing to report.
Counselor Jarvis?
I attended the East Range Community Action or Committee Advisory Panel meeting with Becky and Librarian Sowers. And it was an interesting thing to attend. Apparently a lot of connections have been made. But Paul Endelin from Minnesota Power spoke. And then they had 2 gentlemen, Bruce Richardson and Terry Hill from New Range Copper, gave a talk, and they have an open house. I'm sure everybody's probably seen that ad in the paper on Monday, October 21st. And then Kate Van Dale from the Minnesota Power Community Giving also spoke on the financial giving that they've done through the area. And Mark Skelton, who was a citizen member, announced his retirement from the community or from the committee, and members thanked him for his time and work over the years. And there was nothing mentioned on what they were gonna do for the replacement for him. That was about it.
All right, thank you. We just have our annual chamber Halloween party, the haunted trail, and then the kids' games. And food, it will be Sunday, October 27th, starting at, I believe it's 4:30 p.m. So kids are all invited to that, and the older kids can do the haunted trail. That's sponsored by the archery group. So we give them a donation and they help run that trail. So it's worked good the last couple of years. And that is all I have.
Sherry, I did forget one thing.
Yeah.
Laurentian Ranger District is also, they brought it up, that they are doing an open house on October 28th from 4 to 6 p.m. at their location, Forestry Road.
All right, thank you. Being no old business, we'll go to new business. 11.1, resolution to apply for the DIRRR grants for the White Lakes Recreation and Wellness Center. And that is a $250,000 grant request for the phase 1 of the project. Though we'll apply for an additional $250,000 for the 25-26 cycle. So-
Again, the wellness center is what we would consider the arena, for the ice plant replacement and the ADA compliance, project. It's going on very.
So we'll be having, the DIRRR is having a meeting the week of October 15th to go over any pre-applications, so they would like to get that in for the board meeting in November. Are there any other questions on that grant application? If not, we'll need a motion to apply.
Make the motion to apply to the IRRR grant.
Yeah, there's been a motion. Is there a second? I'll support. Support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hopefully we get some of that money coming in for that project. 11.2 is the resolution accepting a donation from the White Lakes Chamber of Commerce. The membership at our last meeting voted to give $10,000 to help finish resurfacing the pickleball tennis court, and then another $5,000 to do some cemetery landscaping, Kenny. So it looks like you'll be able to take care of some of those trees. Some of the members had been by there, and they did agree that they could use some updates. We'll need a motion to accept that $15,000.
These were items that were cut from our budget for next year, so it's nice to see the chamber step up and fund some of these things that were cut. I make the motion to accept the donation.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. 11.3, recommendation to hire casual part-time firefighter. For the hiring committee, Brendan Scott, Dan Dudley, Dan Mackey, and Johnny Napper, and Bruce Carlson and Rob Cox recommended hiring Vince Edmond for the casual part-time firefighter position.
With any applicant, we do like a verbal interview, and if Dudley wants to jump in and speak a little bit to that. We did that and felt his answers were adequate. He wants to join and be a part of the community and help out where needed. And then we do like a physical exertion type, piece afterwards, which is like, wearing our SCBA, climbing a ladder, carrying a dummy, going across the balance beam. He passed all those. So yeah, we just recommend hiring.
Sure, is there any other questions about the recommendation?
I guess how's the department doing as far as staffing?
I think we're at 14 members,
I was gonna say 14 or 15, yeah.
and I think our full roster is either 20 or 25.
Are we seeing applicants trickle in, or is it?
He's been the only one for a long time.
Yeah, well, kind of,
of.
we've had 2 this year.
Do we post that typically, or only when the numbers are so low, or?
I don't know, it usually runs on the Facebook page for the fire department.
Okay,
And if they have it on the city webpage too, on their employment.
Yeah.
okay.
And they were doing their classes in November,
Yeah,
correct?
it starts in November.
Yeah. So they should be ready relatively soon. Takes a few months to go through that, but other than that. Okay.
I'll make a motion to hire casual part-time firefighter. Vince Edmond.
There's been a motion, is there a second?
I'll support.
All right, there's been support, all those in favor?
Why?
Opposed? Motion carried. 11.4, discussion regarding zoning for R4, which is the mobile home zoning area. If you have the ordinance in front of us, with the possible, doesn't look like it's been gone through yet, but a new person, which looks like they'll be buying the trailer park. So I just wanted to kind of look at our ordinance as it sits and see if we can't, make sure there's some limitations or rules about what type of trailers that can be brought in. So really at this point, it's just for discussion. As people, I don't know if you had a chance to review it or if you have any other comments, but especially with the new owner coming in, it'd be nice to actually give them a copy of the current ordinance as it sits, or if we make any changes so they can be aware of the limitations. I know Aurora has revised theirs. Well, we have not asked for a copy yet, but I would like to see Aurora's. I think they have some limitations on the year of the trailer. I think they're only allowing double wide trailers brought in, not just the, skinny single ones. So just some things to, think about how we want that to look if it's gonna be under new ownership.
I think a big piece of the last one was like maintaining the roads and making sure they were all clear. We emphasize that there's people living there and we need to be at least cared about it.
Yeah, we
That they can
talked about an easement at other
Yeah.
meetings.
just fix like water.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can put some stipulations in there about keeping the roads plowed in a timely manner, or even fixing water main breaks in a timely manner. Possibly even requiring supervision of city staff to do it. They don't necessarily have to, city staff doesn't necessarily have to do it, but they should at least be involved in making sure it's done properly. Unless they wanted to look at giving the easement back to the city to maintain the streets and the water lines, but that would be a different discussion. I think if anybody that's driven through there has seen that it's not what it used to be and it's gone downhill a bit. There's a lot of abandoned trailers in there. If we can, like, this ordinance already says you're not allowed to leave the abandoned trailers there, but obviously it hasn't been enforced. So I'd be interested in updating this. We're not considering, or we're no longer considering buying it. It'd be nice to take at least this approach to try to clean it up and to make it more presentable for the city. I'd make a motion to have Becky maybe compare it with the Auroras and maybe make some recommendations and bring it back to another council meeting for us to discuss more.
You mentioned an easement for utilities. What about on that parcel of land that goes through the Lee property where the city could not get into to repair that water? Can something be set up where they are required to purchase an easement to a lead or from a lead, I mean, so that the city can obtain access for a repair like that rather than having a water line sitting there leaking for however long?
I believe that entire section.
The section prior is not owned by the trailer courts. In fact, you have to remember that county land explorer is not 100% accurate.
Like between the park and the.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so where they're showing some of those mobile homes actually on the Lee property, it may or may not be the case.
Yeah, I believe where the modern main broke was on the property, but again,
Correct, the water main break that they did have this last year was within the trailer court, but you're right, there is a section of elite property that the road goes across. From what I remember is back when LTV was still operational, that was all LTV property. When they closed down, all non-mining property was handed over to elite, so all that property became elite. Back in the day, my understanding is, LTV didn't care that we had roads running on their property, the whole playground, for instance, is on elite property. It just kind of was a grandfathered in thing. Elite has never brought it to our attention, like get off our property or anything like that with our stuff. All the bike trails that run onto the campground are on elite property. I mean, like I say, that's all stuff, we have no easements to have any of our stuff there. However, all the utility lines and roads that go into the trailer court and are in the trailer court have no easements, so.
That's why I'm bringing it up. I mean, the legalities of you guys going in there and digging something up, well, you could come in and say, hey, wait a minute, what's this all about?
Right.
If the new owner could make sure that there was a access lease
Right,
obtained for the city to be able to go through that property and fix or maintain water and or sewer lines.
right. The city does go in there and do certain things, like from my understanding, the public utility still goes in there and flushes fire hydrants. We still go in and shovel or plow and shovel around the hydrants, for safety's sake. What I was told is we don't plow in there because it's private property and, we're not supposed to take taxpayer funded equipment and plow private property. Hence why we don't plow the shopping center anymore or any of the other businesses in town that we used to. From my understanding, I was told it's the same thing as like the Kenwood Apartments, for instance. We don't go plow the Kenwood Apartments even though 50-some people live there. Same thing as the trailer court, we don't go plow their private property because it is private. But, there are certain things from a safety standpoint, when we quit plowing it and they struggle to get it plowed with the equipment they were using to plow it themselves. From a safety standpoint, then we can go in and assist in like a mutual aid agreement because of safety. We want an ambulance or a fire truck or squad car to be able to make it in there if needed. We don't want them stuck. And that was the one scenario in the past. I don't know what it was, 2, 3 years ago where, you know, last year, obviously, we didn't have snow, but one of the previous years, you know, they weren't plowing it regularly, it was getting packed down. Then we got a big rainstorm in January and everything softened up, turned to slush. We had a squad car get stuck and they were worried about an ambulance being able to get in. We took our loader in, made a pass, made it accessible for emergency services. And that's all I've been advised to do.
As far as elite goes, there's been at least preliminary discussions on trying to secure some of that property again. So hopefully that continues and we can get some of the property from elite to be city toilets.
Yeah, until I hear differently, like today, that's what I've been advised to do is to not plow private property, however, if, you know, anybody were to struggle, I mean, if we got 3 feet of snow and whoever plows the apartment building couldn't get in, I'm sure we would assist.
All right, so if we'll, yeah, have Becky get some more information to compare some of the ordinances and see what our options are as far as easements. We can put it on another agenda when we have that information.
Also, from my understanding, that the previous owner of the trailer court did argue that fact, you know, he didn't like the fact that the city quit plowing and, you know, wouldn't plow based on private property rule. However, we have had a conversation with the new tentative owner or whatever, the guy who is buying it, and he's fully aware that, you know, as soon as we brought that up, he said, well, I understand. So at least he's not in denial that it's his responsibility.
Is he an absentee type owner, Ken, or is he from the area?
He did say, you know, he didn't give a whole lot of information, and I don't know at the time if it was because he called me at the city garage requesting information about like zoning, possibly purchasing additional property adjoining the trailer court and stuff like that, possibly rezoning or what the zoning rules were. I gave him, you know, I passed them on to the correct people. I tried asking them a couple questions and, you know, he said, I'm not sure yet because I think it was all very new that he had just acquired it or is in the process of acquiring it. And I think, Becky Lammy felt the same way. I asked her one time, cause I steered in her way and, you know, I asked about, you know, what she had found out and same thing, he didn't say a whole lot. As far as what plans were or anything like that.
So I think, Stuart, did you make a motion?
I did, I don't know if you need a motion, but yeah, I did.
To direct her, and then motion to direct.
So would there be a second then to have Becky look into this a little more?
At least give us a draft to discuss.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all those in favor? Motion carried. That discussion going. Next up, 11.5, discussion regarding dangerous dogs ordinance number 90.22. And it seems like the city of Aurora had an incident with a dog. The East Range Police Department requested that the city of White Lakes and Aurora discuss the dog ordinance to match so they can enforce it the same in both cities. So that's what you have in front of you is an example of a proposed language. It's significantly, you know, longer. I pulled ours off the website and it's about this long, so it does address a lot more information.
I don't know if this is Aurora's ordinance or if it's just a sample one, but it's 7 pages long and our current one is half a page.
It's just right here.
So,
That's what
Yeah,
ours.
it's quite thorough.
It is, so I'm sure, we can look through it, make comments, suggestions if we want. I would assume Becky will talk with Luke, take over Aurora, and maybe come to a conclusion on what would be the best scenario, but yeah, if there's any questions or comments that any of us have on it, please let Becky know and
Is it a
see. if we can-
question right now, Jerry?
Yeah,
I don't know if it makes much of a difference, but on the first page, just after segment B, they have the wordings under a dangerous dog, inflicted substantial bodily harm, and then the line below says great bodily harm. Legality wise, I don't know if that makes a difference for it. And then under the kennel wording, they also repeated substantial bodily harm, which didn't make sense for that location. And there's a term in there in the under segment I regarding seizure of the dogs. And there's a term that it can be disposed of, used for research or destroyed. I would like to see that word research removed. Even a bad dog does not deserve to be put into a research facility for the torture they undergo in those places. I just as soon see the dog disposed of, euthanized, however you want to term it. If it's gotta be seized, I mean, it's actual torture that they undergo in those medical facilities. But I just that one word research should be removed.
all right, and Tammy, are you noting the areas for Becky to review?
Yeah.
Minutes too?
Yeah,
Okay.
and she was wondering if you want to make a motion for her to direct her and her breath out to work with the city.
So moved.
So that she can
All support.
dig into it.
Okay, so the Aurora Administrator and Attorney Grunfeld, the three of them can go through it with our comments and see if they can come up with another draft.
Yes, gave me the motion and I supported.
All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye, none opposed. Motion carried. 7.6, discussion regarding prohibited animals, ordinance number 90.21. The letter from Mark Gertson here about allowing laying hens in town. Again, I pulled up the current statute that we have and kind of read through that. Well, he makes some good points about food security, sustainability, environmental benefits, mental and emotional well-being, responsibility. I'm not 100% opposed to people having laying hens, but I think there would need to be some discussion on stipulations as far as, yard size or what areas of town, how many. I did talk to, Chief Suler and Animal Control, Jen Olmsted, and asked their opinions and what they thought, and neither one of them had any strong feelings about it. Just, again, you need some regulation, you need some, maximum, maybe that you're allowed, no roosters. Obviously, there's ones that make all the noise. Laying hens aren't a noisy, animal. So there's just, could certainly have some discussion on it and see if we can come up with a change if we'd like for that ordinance. I know they talked about, in 2020, Mayor Vreeland and the current council then, voted not to have, the consensus was not to be able to have chickens in town. Some of the notes on here say, about allowing roosters or not. If you have a permit system, how do you control who has them and how many they have? So there's a lot of things to think about with that.
I had a discussion with, some Grand Rapids people involved in the city there, and I thought they did a good job about, boxing in some of this, in their ordinance. So they do allow chickens there. I think it's a good starting point. I had Becky include their ordinance in our packet here. They talked about how large the lot needs to be, how many chickens you can have. There is a permit application. There's a fee for the permit. it talks about, getting at least 75% of adjacent landowners to sign off on it. Which could help ease a lot of the potential issues or. I guess.
Complaints.
Complaints against it, maybe, I think it would also prevent maybe, the chicken coops becoming more of a blight, I guess. If there's a concern already with the current homeowner and maybe they don't keep a tidy yard and then they're talking about adding chickens to it, the neighbors would probably know that and not sign off on it if you did include something like that. Unless we did something more like just in certain areas of town, which I don't know if that's the best route to go either. Chickens are pretty quiet. Another thing that they did was they limited it to, they limited all the animals, so a max of 3 animals allowed on any one premise. Which I think we already have houses that have more dogs and cats than that. So I mean, maybe it's just a limit of chickens or something. Obviously, you don't wanna see 30 chickens crammed in a tiny chicken coop in the back of the White Lakes house. There has to be some guidance there, I think, but I think it's a good place to start.
I see the Grand Rapids one says, no roosters and 1 chicken shall be allowed for 2,500 square feet of lot size. So Kenny, what's a typical White Lakes house? How many square feet?
In town yard, on average is 67 by 110, so they're, you know. 6,700 square feet.
Yeah, I mean, one of my initial thoughts was maybe if, you have the back lot that you own, so you actually have an extended yard, or so you weren't having them right in town, but I liked this Grand Rapids, how they said you have to have 75% of your neighbors sign off, that they don't mind if you have them. So then that doesn't eliminate pretty much all the in-town houses. I wasn't sure the square footage or the acreage of White Lakes houses, but.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of places throughout Minnesota that have this, so I think if you kind of synthesize kind of all the rules that they have in there, so I think we could come up with a good, ordinance for.
And there would need to be whatever application fee that we decide and the violations, whatever kind of
Who would enforce it though?
would be the animal control officer.
Just like cats or dogs or carrots running around town, just, I suppose,
So
that'd be, Jed, who said he wasn't opposed to changing the ordinance.
So if the chickens did get out, there would be similar to a loose dog, if Jen is involved and has to capture them and board them, then there's gonna be a
I
fee
love
for that.
We need some protective equipment for Jared if we're gonna get.
He's gonna need better, yeah, gloves,
Right.
definitely. My husband's.
Fishing net?
Yeah.
So that's how the game would do it.
Yeah, I'd like to see if we can come up with a, revamped ordinance on that based on some of these other things for discussion at the next meeting again.
I had seen, just looking at the different places around both Iron Range, Virginia had something go up to them and they denied it. But they had like a specific group in town that had came up with like an ordinance, it seemed like, and presented it to the council. So I guess that would be kind of interesting to hear from like all the folks in White Lakes that want to own chickens, like they come up with certain. I mean, they're wonderful, but I think if Becky kind of looked through the different ordinances already in place within different cities.
I believe the city of Ely changed their rules a while back to allow chickens in town.
I think Duluth really have something. There's quite a few places that you can look at. To see if we should.
Yeah, I think Grand Rapids is pretty similar to what we're dealing with. Obviously, they're a little bigger, but they have lots about the same size, a lot of them. They also have some rural ones on the edge. So I'm not saying that this has to be it, but it's definitely a good start. And yeah, maybe looking at a couple other cities to see if Becky thinks that there's some things we can incorporate there. Just to give us something to start with as a draft, and maybe we can encourage some of the residents that would like chickens, to come in and give their input on our draft as well. And help guide us on this. It's easier to change it before it goes in place than it is to change it after it's in place, but it can be changed after as well. It just takes a lot more time.
Well, I'd make that motion to direct Becky to go ahead and gather some more information, and then, yeah, I would like to, maybe after the next meeting, when we have a general idea, invite people who are interested to come tell us their thoughts too.
And there is always a comment period on, it's like a public hearing section of the meeting where people are allowed to discuss the ordinances before they go in place.
There's been a motion, is there a second?
I'll support.
Support, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, 11.7, resolution accepting donation from US Steel. US Steel has donated fall protection harness and lanyards to the city for use by the fire department. We just have to make a motion to accept those.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second? I'll second. All right. There's been a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 11.8, council meeting rules of procedure and order. I think this is our second draft that we just kind of looking at, the way we run meetings, and if we wanted to have any changes. I think last time we kind of struck some of the reference to Robert's Rules of Orders, because we weren't really following those anyway. We were a little more loose with the meeting, not as official as they were. You'll see some of the things updated on page 1. Dave, was that some of this that you were interested in, getting on more of a public forum to
Yeah.
speak, that you requested from Becky? So yeah, one of the options was to maybe hold a listening session at 5 o'clock prior to regular meetings to give people more time for back and forth conversations.
I guess what's proposed in here is a listening session is still only one way, so we hear from residents. We're not really allowed to discuss or comment back. So I would be more, I don't think that's what the community's looking for. I'd be more inclined to do more of a public forum where we can engage with the residents and talk back and forth.
Cause yeah, how it's written, it just seems like another public comment section before our public comment section.
Yeah.
And I think just in hearing folks come to city council meetings, they want more of that, open dialogue, questions, answers, types of things during the meetings. And I wasn't here for the last council meeting, but Mitch had mentioned something about like audience members shouldn't be like just saying things during the council meeting. But that the mayor can like call on people or like if they say something to that effect, recognizing someone.
That you can recognize
Yeah.
someone who's asking a question or.
So I think, I don't know if this is what everybody would want, but something like if someone is wanting to say something during the meeting, they could like raise their hand and you could recognize them to say something or ask a question during the actual meeting piece of things. I think that's the piece that people most want. It's like when they're first coming in for the public comment section, they can voice their concerns. They don't know exactly kind of what we're talking about when it comes to that piece in the meeting, kind of points we bring up and questions we pose. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm on board with Stu. Moving more towards a budget or piece of things. We're gonna do a public forum or something before the meeting. So you can have that open then.
I'm not sure if it's every meeting or if it's every other meeting once a month or whatever it is, but, I think it's beneficial to have that back and forth. And then as far as the regular council meetings, it kind of trying to find a line there of, there's a lot of laws and guidelines there to run council meetings. And ultimately you gotta get through the business, so it can't just be a visiting hour or whatever. It does have to have some structure to it. So like appreciate Becky going through and writing what we've been doing as our rules of order, or whatever you wanna call it. Cause it isn't Robert's rules of order, we have been lax on the official, procedures.
Which isn't, you know, it's not a bad thing, you know, we don't, Robert's Rules of Orders is very, very strict, I don't know that we need to, you know, be that regimented in the way we run meetings, but. Yeah, I do like the public forum option. I don't know, like, Susan, I don't know, every meeting, maybe every other, you know, we show up at 5 and have that half hour where people can just kind of, still in an orderly fashion, but converse and just, you know, go back and forth on some topics. It's always best to get on the agenda if you have a specific item, so that we have time to kind of research and find the answers you want, because in the public forum, we might not have the answers readily available, but we can certainly. Get those, I know one of these say that we could, you know, get their name from them and write their question down and get back to them with answers. Can't be expected to know everything at the drop of a hat, so I mean, it's always good to be on the agenda, but. Yeah, I think it's definitely something we could look into. I know we talked about doing like a public forum meetings like quarterly, like Sue did a couple at the library. I think those would even be beneficial to have, you know, every quarter there's a topic and people can come and hear about, you know, that topic if they're interested, whether it's. You know, chickens or utilities or, you know, care of new trees, whatever the topic might be, I think that'd be, you know, each counselor could take a turn and join one of these forums every quarter. I think that would be a good idea as well, to keep information out there.
And to try and drum up more involvement with the community as far as, we've had a lot of talks about parks and playground updates and. These projects go a lot smoother if you have community involvement and you're just kind of looking for some guidance from the city aspect. You can obviously help apply for grants and different things like that, but to do the legwork and to decide what changes you want to make. If you want to put a new slide in, what kind of slide, how much is it going to cost, and then bring that forward or whatever it may be. So we've had conversations like that, we've had groups start to take off and then they fizzle out. I think if we could keep a forum or something like that where they continue to make contact, it could be more successful.
Yeah, the ball won't get dropped by thinking, you know, this person's gonna do it or this person, we can keep the conversation moving and maybe get some things accomplished. So I don't know if we wanna approve the general rules of order, how it stands, and just have Becky change it to a, public forum. Or if we just wait for the next meeting and have her redo this front page, yeah, then we can approve it at the next meeting.
Are you thinking of public forum before the council meetings or something quarterly instead, and we would add?
I think as far as if this is directing the, council meetings, I think, you know, we could add a public forum before. I don't know if we wanna do every one or every other one. Yeah, I would think every other.
Are you talking about a 15-minute or 30-minute?
Well, this says 30, I mean, the council, could come at 5 o'clock and let people, you know, talk from, and if we find that no one's coming and it's only 1 or 2 people, we can always change the time, but.
The reason I asked Becky about it was, people ask me questions, and the term used was, they'd like to see the meeting a little more user-friendly, so that people could speak and bring something up. The impression I got from the couple was, as agenda items were brought up, they'd like to be able to comment on that. And that's kind of an iffy scenario, because then you can lose control of your meeting real quick. But, you know, it's just to allow that public comment for people to speak without just that first 3 minutes, once things are brought up. I don't know if you do it before the meeting and have them rely on the agenda put out ahead of time, or what you do to inform them what's gonna be brought up.
Yeah, I think they could either be based on the agenda items or something of their own choosing, if, you know, they have their own question, or if they see something on the agenda and they wanna come early and talk about it and get a better understanding of what it is. Yeah, I mean, going back and forth during, like, this is a meeting of the council, you know, the people
Yeah,
are
I
here,
understand.
you know,
No.
to listen in on our meeting. And we wanna keep it, you know, running in an orderly fashion, so to have comment period, you know, as we're going through, just doesn't seem to be the way to run the meeting efficiently, but I do like giving them a chance beforehand to ask questions. So that they're better, you know, understanding of what's going on.
I would be open to, like Brennan said, putting something in here, maybe, on the mayor's discretion, they can recognize somebody on the floor during discussion. And hear a question on the floor and answer it, but.
Yeah, because we did talk about that, and I know that has happened with myself and past mayors, where you do, you know, give someone a little extra time, where you address, you know, something that they're commenting on. So that I don't know if there's a problem with doing that from time to time, you don't wanna do it for every comment you hear in the audience, but if it's not, yeah, I didn't notice it specifically.
I didn't.
So,
I don't recall seeing it.
The only piece with the every other is like they look at the agenda beforehand. And like with this meeting, there might be something that someone really wants to talk about, chicken, for example. And we didn't have like a thing beforehand, you know, don't crowd it in. We did kind of ask questions and talk about it prior to the meeting. That's the only piece I would really, kind of wonder about, but other than that.
Yeah, it's hard to know what your agenda is gonna be for the following week, or what you can comment on that month, but, something like this ordinance, it doesn't happen in the night. It has to be posted for 10 days or whatever, and there has to be a public comment period on it, and so some of that is addressable at the next forum meeting, but, I think it's definitely a step in the direction of what the community's asking for, which is more involvement and more question and answer from the council.
yeah, then you could still, you know, run the meeting
So it's-
in a regular fashion, but have a chance beforehand to.
So as far as what Becky's produced here, I would, for recommendations here, 1 through 8, my comment would be to change it instead of from a listening session at 5 o'clock, it would be a forum. And remove the last sentence of 8, where members of the council and staff will not answer questions or address comments during the listening session. I don't know if that runs up against open meeting law, or as long as the forum is posted, it counts as a meeting, or how that works, but Becky can provide some guidance on that.
Yeah, it's like the meeting begins at 5 p.m. with a, you know, open forum, you know, if that covers the open meeting portion of us all being in one room before the meeting starts.
So I guess I'm not really ready for motions yet, I want Becky to maybe
Advise it with our input.
Yeah.
make some changes on that, and then maybe give her guidance on some of those questions that maybe they are against the law of some sort, or Mitch can chime in on it.
Okay,
Would it be possible to have that televised?
if we start our meetings at 5 p.m. as a regular council meeting, that was when the recording would be started. Yeah, I'll have to ask, I don't know if there's I don't know why there'd be any legality of not televising, you know, the question and answer or public forum, but yeah.
Cause I know some
we can ask
cities
that.
televise their special meetings too, but we don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something we can discuss or ask about as well.
I think there shouldn't be much of a deal to put it on YouTube at least, but, I don't know what the contract is like with public TV airing.
Yeah, we don't use them any longer for the public TV, but
They
as
don't
far
record
as
it, but they
starting,
post it, don't they?
they don't post it anymore. I don't believe.
I think
They
their
do,
meetings are
but
still
Are
on
they
the
on?
channel.
I don't
They
think
do
channels,
play
I
meetings
thought we-
on 2, it used to be
Okay.
5,
Now
but it
there's,
hasn't been for
Oh,
quite a
well.
while.
I don't know if we still pay for that or how much it costs, but I know them coming here to record it was quite expensive.
yeah. Okay, yeah, those are some things we can add.
So just table it or, just ask for Becky to, just ask for make more updates, yeah.
Yeah, we will make a
Well,
motion
think we need
to
a motion
approve
on
it, yeah. Need more updates before we make a motion to to approve that one.
So are you still thinking that just every week before the council meeting or if she's gonna be adding that back in?
If we could somehow incorporate it as part of the meeting, it would be best, I think, because then if there is no comments, then we can roll into the meeting, but.
For everybody.
Yeah, I would say with every council meeting, and I don't know if we need a full half hour or if we just need the 15 minutes. We'll have to see how it goes, you
How
know,
long did the East Range Public Safety Board meetings go for that?
because those start at 4:30.
They move around sometimes, sometimes they're
At 4 o'clock, so if we got done at what, 4:35?
I left at 4:30,
So that's.
4:30.
yeah.
That's how he's gonna be a little concerned about this. If they have a meeting right beforehand, if that goes wrong, then at least two counselors won't be here. I don't know. Just something to think about, I guess.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll have them do another draft of that and then submit any input you have. I've gotten on the list to her and we'll go from there.
I had one question for Penny. The golf course is closed now. Those with golf carts in the storage out there, can they stay in this winter?
I think they paid their yearly lease or whatever.
And then when is the gate closed so they can no longer, whatever, cover them or take batteries out or whatever they wanna do?
I'm not sure if Wade had it closed yet today or not. He told me this morning that he closed it on Saturday. We went out there and blew the water line and system out today. I do believe Dan Darbo is still out there collecting some things, so I don't know if they still have more work to do. As far as I'm concerned, Public Works, we're done out there,
Okay.
with everything we need to do for the winter.
If somebody needed to get out there to get their cart, how does
Yeah,
that
or
work?
they can touch base with Wade or I,
Okay.
and we can get on.
Okay, thank you.
Being no more business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So,
All support?
Motion and support, all those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Meeting adjourned.
It's,